By the end of today's episode, you'll know exactly how a great agent thinks and what their suggestions are when it comes to finding and signing with agents. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and today I'll be sharing an interview I did with a fantastic talent agent named Valerie Adami from SW Artists. Some of the things that we cover include exactly what boutique agencies are looking for in actors that they're considering representing. When is the right time to start looking for a boutique agency or a larger agency? And even the best practices to follow when reaching out. Ready to dive in? Today I have an amazing guest, Valerie Adami, who works as a talent agent for professional actors working in New York. And like many in this industry, Valerie started out in musical theater and then transitioned to working on camera. She worked in commercials, voiceover, and even some small roles in New York soap operas. She also worked as the director of the Weist-Barron School for Film and TV for many years, helping to start the careers of numerous actors. All of that prepared her to begin representing actors as a professional talent agent in New York. Thank you for being here, Valerie. Can you tell us a little bit about the work you do as a talent agent and expand on my intro for you?
Okay. Well, as you said, I've been in the industry for many years as a performer, as a director. I did some casting. Then I segued into, well, I was lucky enough to have actually a former student of mine, Sue Winnick, as in SW, Sue Winnick, was a student at Weist-Barron, and she segued into agenting. And when we closed the school in 2014, she got in touch with me and asked if I would like to join the agency. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a nice third act for me. And I've been working with her since 2015, and we're a terrific team. We all love actors, we all love acting. And it's new aspect of the agent of the industry for me, and I didn't know how I was going to respond to it. But since my purpose, especially with my history at Weist-Barron, has been really nurturing and encouraging actors, this seemed like a perfect opportunity to continue to do that. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of questions about how people get ahead in this business, and an agent is there to really lead them through it and help them make good choices and keep them positive and keep them enthusiastic about the business, because it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful profession, but it is a very tough business. And I've heard it said, I think Montgomery Clift said, that you have to have a very tough exterior, but you have to be very vulnerable on the inside. And I think that's what every actor has to keep in mind as they enter into this business.
Absolutely. It is very crazy how how difficult that can be, that balancing act, because to be a great actor, you have to let your own self come through. But that's scary to do when you face some of the rejection or critiques that some actors get. I do actually have a question for you. You talked a little bit about the sort of developmental side of agenting, where you are helping guide the actor and helping them grow their career. Can you just talk briefly, before I get into my main questions that I have, about the difference? Because there are some agents out there who, as I'm sure that you've heard from actors, who don't hardly ever interact with their clients. They just submit them. And then there's other agents who actually work very closely with the client to really kind of help them grow their career and learn what to do, the right steps to take. So talk a little bit about that. And do you know what kind of agent an actor should go for when they're newer? What's your thoughts around all of that?
Okay, good. A lot to unpack there. Um, it often depends upon the size of the agency. If you're talking about a really big, big agency with 50 or 60 different agents handling perhaps hundreds of different actors, then it's really difficult to develop that sort of intimacy with your clients. I'm lucky enough to be with a boutique, what we call boutique agency in the business. And we don't have hundreds and hundreds of clients. We have probably all told possibly 80, and that's men and women ages 6 years old to well into their 80s. So it's easier for us to get to know our clients and want to work with them. I also offer my services as an actual audition coach to my talent. They can certainly go to their own coaches if they want to, but hey, I'm your agent and I'm free. You don't even have to pay me for it. And I'm happy to do it because I have, as I said, I have a long history in directing and teaching, and I even have a side hustle of making self-tapes for actors, and I've made self-tapes for some of my clients as well. So I get to know them, and the better you know them, the better you know what you can actually submit them for. If you're just looking at pictures and resumes and their footage, you're not really developing a personal relationship with them. You don't know if they're really funny. You don't know if they're really accessible. You don't know if what they're going to be like in the room. How will they be on the callback when they're doing, unfortunately, nowadays, everything's a Zoom with a director. And the director is going to be asking them just personal things about their life. What are their other interests besides acting? And, how forthcoming are they are, how conversational are they? A big part of the business, and actors really forget about this because they always make it all about my talent, my credits. Personality is a gigantic part of the industry, and we as agents, we need to like you to want to represent you. And then when you go forth into the industry and you're meeting a director, a casting director, or a director, or even a bigger group, including producers and writers, they want to get a sense of your personality. I always tell actors that the final decision that is made in casting is it's down to two actors. They are equally talented. They have equal credits. They have good reputations. They are both right for the part. The final decision is, who do I want to work with? Who do I like the best? And it has to do with your personality. So backing up all the way to what we do initially when we're seeking actors, and we're always seeking actors, is, who strikes us as somebody that we want to have a relationship with. I don't know if that answers any of your questions, but
I mean,
there,
it's
there was a
definitely
lot.
good stuff there, and it will lead in perfectly to my next question. But you mentioned a couple of things. So, one, I do think just to kind of clarify for actors that you kind of explain the difference, those major large agencies are a bit less personable. They're not probably going to interact with you as much as a smaller boutique, as you put it, agency, right? And I would probably you would probably agree with me in the sense that newer actors, let's say not like new, but actors who are not booking huge projects consistently all the time would be more would probably find a better benefit by going for an agency like yours where they get to work with someone who is willing to spend the time with them and help them grow their career over time, because the problem is some actors do think like, oh, I need a gigantic agency because they will get me in for the biggest projects, but that's not
No, they
really.
won't. You're just going to get lost.
Yes.
Let's back this up even to, when are you ready for representation? All right. Margaret Emery, my colleague at SW, spends every spring going to every showcase from every college that comes into town. And she has a very keen eye, and she really looks for the actors that are going to be the best fit, and certainly the ones that stand out the most. And she's going to bring them in for an interview to see if they're going to be able to work with us. The top ones, usually the stars of every graduating class, get multiple offers from various agencies, and so it's kind of like what do they call it in sports? when they had, oh, the draft picks.
Hmm.
It's a little like that. It really is. But these actors are coming into town with either a bachelor or a master's degree in theater. So we know that they are trained, they're experienced, they understand acting, and they're pretty much ready to go to the next level. Now, if you don't have that, if you don't have those credentials and those letters after your um, on your resume, then where did you come from? Are you some kind of a YouTube star, which is a thing? I'm not going to say that it's not, it is a thing. But did you just take some acting classes here in the city? You mentioned earlier that, in your business as a headshot photographer, actors get pictures and then they go, okay, I'm an actor now, I have pictures. Well, did you ever take an acting class? How many acting classes did you take? Where did you take them? Who did you study with? Have you self-submitted yourself? Do you know what Actors Access is? Do you know what Casting Networks is? Do you spend a good portion of your day in front of the computer looking actively for things that you can submit yourself for? Is that picture working for you? Do you have any footage to attach to your submission? Because technology has driven the industry, and now we just don't want to look at a face. We want to hear your voice. We want to see how you relate to the camera. You have to put in a lot of work before an agent is willing to work with you, because agents are also in a competitive business. I can't get every actor that I submit for a job. I can't guarantee that they will get an audition, because I'm sending someone out there and production is looking at their picture, their resume, their footage. And are they in a place in their careers where they could be considered for a project of some substance?
Absolutely. I think what you outlined sort of answers that second question that I was going to go to, which I guess my first question being, tell us a bit about yourself. The second question was, what do you look for when you're looking to represent an actor? And it is really important. One thing that I like to actually say to actors is that the easier it is to sign with an agent, or the easier that that agent makes it to get in touch and just get them to say yes, the worse results you're probably going to get with that agent. Generally, the agents who make it more difficult for you because they have requirements in terms of, are you a really great actor? Are you someone that has a great personality? They want to vet you. The better agents want to vet you because they don't just sign everybody that comes their way and then let those people get lost in the shuffle. They actually put the effort in to help you with your career and get you projects. And they don't want to waste their time or your time if you're not going to be a good fit and if they're not going to be able to do anything for you. So I appreciate you outlining all of those things, which sort of leads to my next question here, which is, what would you say are some red flags that you look out for when actors are reaching out seeking representation? Or, in other words, what things might an actor do or not do that can make you immediately skip past them to consider someone else instead?
Okay. If people are simply submitting to us, and that has changed so vastly over the years, and years ago, people just sent a picture and resume with a cover letter, and we would scrutinize the resume and make some decisions on their look, on their training, on their experience. Um, these days, it's a little tougher because we have these firewalls. People can email things to us, but not all of those emails are going to be even looked at or responded to. We mostly see people in showcase situations, and then we make a decision. So there's not a general situation where an actor is going to be able to get in touch with us, and perhaps by phone, they can manage to get our phone numbers and like stalk us, drive us crazy with submissions. Years ago, there were actors who used to put a postcard, if any of your people even remember what postcards were, every single day. And you don't want that person. They're
Did
just too
you
crazy.
ever see did you ever watch the show Arrested Development?
Yeah. Hmm.
Did you see the scene where the character Tobias is trying to become an actor and he's mailing out his headshot and resume and he fills up the envelope with glitter
Bitter.
and it like sprays all over them and they're like, remind me to
Yeah,
never hire Tobias.
that's a no-no. Although I do have a girlfriend, a personal friend who sends me cards from time to time. And there's always glitter in the envelope, but I know that, so, so I'm prepared for the glitter onslaught. But it would be sort of a situation where we had already chosen to interview an actor, and in the interview process, I'm not going to say red flag, although there are some. If a person is slovenly, not well kept, if a person is vulgar in any way, a personal thing that I have that a lot of young people who live and die by texting, we can't always text everyone everything. Sometimes we have a lot of information to send, so we're going to put it in an email. And sometimes actors just do not respond to emails for days and days and days. And I don't even want to talk to this actor because they're just not paying attention to business. And I can't take the time if I'm working on a breakdown and I'm submitting numerous actors in. I can't text everybody individually all the time to let them know something. So I'm going to shoot out a bunch of emails, and I expect a response within hours, 1 to 2 hours at best, because it's your business and you have to do that. So communication is a big red flag if you're not really good at communication. If you're not, if I am actually working with you and you get a request for a self-tape and there's a deadline, and I am telling you to not wait until an hour before the deadline to submit your tapes. And this is a truth. I am sorry. When you get that breakdown, when you get that request for the self-tape, that's your priority. You stop everything else and you carve out the time to make that self-tape and get it in. Very often they're viewing the self-tape submissions as they arrive. So if you're the 64th person to send in your tape, the job's already cast. So again, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So communication, tardiness, politeness is important. Consideration is
That
important.
all goes into personality, as you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Being respectful of my time because I am working for you. So those are the kinds of things that will give us a hard time. But are we primarily talking to people who are really at the threshold of the business, or are we talking to people who are a little farther along?
You're asking me like who am I
I'm asking you, like,
that
which.
question on? It's a mixture of people. So, I mean, the thing is you're going to get people reaching out probably out of the blue, which actually leads to a side question that I have. If you are open to sharing, I'm sure actors are curious to know how often, in general, if you had to put like a generalized number on it, how often do actors reach out to an agency like yours asking for representation? Are you getting like multiple requests a day, a week? What kind of competition do these actors have when they're looking for an agent?
Hmm, in the olden days, when people actually put pictures of resumes in the mail, an agency could get a big important agency like Dunn Buchwald or Abrams, when Abrams was Abrams, could get a basketful a day. They could get 100, 150 pictures and resumes in the mail a day. That's just what actors did. These days, it's a little tougher because, as I said, it's actors don't regularly. I mean, our agency, we might get between perhaps 10 or 20 hard copies of pictures and resumes in the mail a month.
Hmm.
Actors don't even know about making hard copies for the most part these days. It's like, what do I need that for? Isn't everything electronic? And yeah, a lot of it is electronic. There certainly are agencies who absolutely are no paper. They don't want to see anything on paper. Everything is electronic. So it's a little harder to actually get past that firewall and get your submission to us.
Hmm.
Some actors actually still do. I think I've got actually a couple right here, hard copies of people that have actually sent me in the past few months that are kind of nice. They're kind of old school. You get to hold it in your hand, you get to read it.
Yeah.
I think what most actors are engaging in, and again, the pandemic just interrupted all of this, but there are organizations that you probably have heard of, like Actors Connection or One on One, where they offer industry evenings where actors can actually be in a room with somebody. During the real dark days of the pandemic, everything was on Zoom, but it's starting to come back a little bit more now of people actually being in the room with industry guests, and that's probably the best way to connect. And during those meetings, the industry person will tell the group how they want to be kept in touch with. Are they willing to give out an email address, or are they saying, you can write to me, you can email me, but this is kind of the hard and fast rule, only when you have news to tell me.
Hmm.
Don't just say, I'm sitting in my window and I'm thinking about the wonderful time I had with you in that studio. And I'm just thinking about if you have any work prospects for me. It's like, if we do, we would certainly reach out and find you. But that kind of just fishing expedition is pretty useless. And I hate to say that to an actor, because the actor wants to be proactive and wants to really try to do something. What I really can say, and believe me, it's not just me, but I listened to this for over 25 years at Weist-Barron. You have to do a lot of work for yourself before an agent is going to consider working with you. And these days, all of that is online submissions. So you have got to get on Actors Access. You've got to get on casting networks. There's another online casting service called New York Castings. There's Backstage still. And you really have got to explore all of that. And you've got to be so diligent. You've got to be such a dog with a bone. And you've got to carve out that time every single day to look for those submissions. And you've got to get on it immediately, because again, the whole nation can get on those websites and they can submit themselves from Alaska, from Florida, from Texas, anywhere they can submit themselves for these jobs. So you've got to really be on it, and you've got to have a terrific headshot, and you've got to have footage. You've absolutely got to. And of course, we would prefer if your footage were of professional broadcast quality, but that's not going to happen. So there are organizations around town that, for a certain fee, will create demos for you. And if you can afford that, go ahead and do it. I really do advise actors just to make what we call clips, and perhaps your coach can do it. Somebody who does self tapes can do it. Should be a short scene. It should be under a minute, because, for instance, Actors Access charges $22 a minute to host your footage. So, and I've done numerous clips for people, and I always try to get it in at 58 seconds so that they only have to pay that $22, because if it's a second over, it's going to be $44. So, but that clip is important. As I said a while back, the technology is driving the business, and we have got to see something. You also, depending upon what your skills are, what your experience is, create a website for yourself. That can be very important as well. Maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a singer or a dancer. So you can create a platform where all of those talents can be showcased. And we can send a link to your website when we're submitting, so that production can see everything there is to see about you.
All of those things that you said makes a ton of sense for actors who are considering an agent. the whole idea of thinking, oh, I shot my headshots and I've been in like two background things, and so now I'm ready for an agent is not correct because agents are not just, it's not about them being discerning, it's that they want to make sure that they're actually delivering results for their clients. And so for anyone who's listening to this, if you can get your really just get your experience and start submitting yourself, as you were saying, Valerie, get yourself learning the process, get yourself the experience of being able to audition well, because auditioning can be nerve wracking if you haven't done it very much. And you're going to have to audition anyway for an agent. Most of the good ones are going to require that. And if you can't, A, it's going to be difficult. But even if you do a good job in the audition with them, if you then go out and you constantly bomb auditions they're sending you on, it's not going to be good because you're going to look bad in front of the casting directors that you're being submitted to, and eventually those casting directors will know, oh, it's that headshot I'm seeing again, and that actor never really does well, so I'm just going to skip past them, and you're going to start getting fewer and fewer auditions. So making sure that all of your stuff is on point, your marketing materials, especially. You mentioned shooting scenes for reels, and that's actually a service that one of my companies, Actor Screener Shoot, does for actors. But it's so important that you don't just go out and shoot footage for your reel without making sure that your acting is strong first. If your acting is fake, there's indication, there's other problems in it. It's no matter how professional your footage looks, an agent can see that right away, and they're probably not going to speak with you if the acting is off in it. And of course, finally, you mentioned self-tape stuff. Having a good quality self-tape setup is really important as well, because the agent who's submitting you does not want to they don't want to look bad like they're representing actors who don't know what they're doing in front of all their contacts and their casting directors, right? So you want to have a professional self-tape setup with decent quality sound, decent lighting, a flat backdrop that's neutral so that you look good. Casting directors appreciate that, and you make your agent look good. It's all kind of circular. It's not like you're finding an agent and they're suddenly doing everything for you. It's a team operation, and you need to treat them with as much respect as they're going to treat you. So I appreciate you sharing all of those things, Valerie. I do have one last question because we've kind of covered a number of my questions out of order, and that's amazing. So my last question is pretty simple, which is basically, what are some final words of advice that you have for actors who are thinking that they're ready, like they've listened to the things that we've talked about, they've got their clips, they are submitting themselves, they're taking their career seriously, they're a legitimate good contender for an agent. So what might be some final words of advice for those actors?
Timing, perseverance, and luck. Those are some of the elements that the actor has got to embrace. And you have to be passionate about it. If you say, I'm going to do this for 3 years, and if nothing happens, I'm going to go to plan B, don't waste your 3 years. Go to plan B right now. If you're in it for the long haul, then it will pay off eventually. Always say yes. If somebody asks you to do something as simple as a staged reading, would you come and be a reader for this class? Would you work as an usher at the Tribeca Film Festival? Anything that is connected to this industry. Go see your friends in shows. Be supportive of them. But most of all, be passionate about this art form and be totally committed to it. And don't get distracted by your survival job. Okay. Get into a survival job that you'd be happy to walk away from tomorrow. Just feed your passion every single day, even if it's reading scripts, going to the theater, going to the gym, taking care of yourself physically. Be anywhere where you can feed your passion. I also direct for a small theater company that specializes in staged readings of new works. And there's various companies around town that do that kind of thing that is primarily for playwrights or even for screenwriters. And sometimes they have situations where they want actors to participate. So anything that you can find that is part of this business and will nurture you as an actor, embrace it, embrace it. And as discouraging it can sometimes be, just always look for that light at the end of the tunnel and just keep marching forward. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have terrible auditions. You're going to lose a role that you had wanted so desperately, and another choice was made. So, you have to fall back on all of those old cliches: when one door closes, another window opens, all that kind of, yes, that's exactly what it is. You're in it for the long haul. So just make peace with that and feed your passion.
You hear that so often, even with super famous actors, that consistent theme of the failures that they face. And I know this in particular from doing these podcasts lately on where I'm doing a breakdown of famous actors' careers. And over again, you hear how the actor may have been on the verge of giving up, but they kept at it and they knew that they loved doing this. And yeah, sure, you don't have to only rely on yourself. There are people, friends, family, people who support you, who that's what life is all about. It's about reaching out to those people when you need that support. You don't have to do this just on your own. But more ideally, over time, you do get a great agent and then you can reach out to them as well. So,
And agents will be as encouraging as they possibly, because remember, we only make money if you make money.
yeah.
So we want you to do your best. Everybody wants you to do your best. Every time you walk into an audition room, you can be the solution to the problem. So, other words of encouragement that I can offer is, and I heard this from a very prominent casting director, Sigrid Miguel, who said, for the time that you are in the audition room, you are the actor who has the role. Don't come in with the mindset of, I'm trying to get this part. Come in saying, I am the actor who's playing this role. It's a very positive mindset. Everybody knows the actor who walks in asking for the role. We can see it, we can feel it immediately because it takes you out of the moment, puts you outside of the art form, and it just puts you in a position of saying, please, please hire me. Who wants that?
Yeah, it is interesting. It almost raises the stakes in terms of how much you embody the character. Because if you're coming in auditioning for the character, I'm going to try to get this role. That's different than, hey, I booked this role and now I am the character.
Own it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just own it.
So, if actors do have all of their materials together, they're serious contenders, and they believe that they are ready for representation, are you open to sharing how actors can reach out or connect, or anything that you're willing to share there about SW artists?
Well, going way back to how would you submit to us, we do have a mailing address that you can actually send a hard copy to. We have an email address on our website that you can submit to. Margaret Emery does participate in studio showcases and industry nights, and I do as well. And you might just check around to see, where we might be that you could sign up for something with us. So all of those things are possible, but getting yourself into something that we might go to see, is important as well. So that takes you way back to self-submitting and finding out, what's going on around town that I can get myself into where I can be seen for something.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We've learned a lot from you today. And as we said, if actors do have either questions or want to reach out, we can include your website. And anybody who's listening to this is also welcome to email me if they have questions about podcast episodes. But yes, thank you for joining today. This was amazing, such good information. And hopefully down the line at some point in the future, maybe we'll have you back to talk about even more info if you're open to it.
Oh, I'd love to. This has been very nice. I always, the older you get, you start to realize that you actually have a lot of information that you can impart. And every year, new people come into the industry who need that information. So I'm happy to give it.
Nice. Awesome. I guess maybe I am getting old then too.
Oh, you never, never, never.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, you have a good day.
Well, thanks for listening. Now, if you want to dive even deeper on what it takes to get a great agent, I highly recommend checking out my podcast called Am I Ready for an Acting Agent? A Checklist for Aspiring Actors, which is episode number 66. I dive deep on exactly what agents are looking for in the actors that they represent. Check it out again. It's episode number 66, Am I Ready for an Agent? A Checklist for Aspiring Actors on the Actor's Career Compass. Finally, if you'd like to get some personalized advice, let's hop on a quick Zoom call. It's absolutely free. I can take a look at where you are, what you're struggling with, and help you figure out the best next steps to take. We'll discuss whether any of my one-to-one coaching programs might be a good fit for you, and we'll talk all about where you want to go in your acting career. Whenever you're ready, just visit martinbenson.com and you can set it up. I'd love to meet with you. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.